What's up, everybody? Welcome to School Baseball Podcast, episode two, attempt number two. Here again with my guy, Mr. Doc. I've been calling you Dr. Kevin.
That works. That works.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have
I don't
so
know.
many nicknames. I respond to almost anything now.
All right, cool, cool. Well, so I'm Coach Nick Robinson. I'm the owner and producer of the podcast and of Robinson Athletes. I'm a youth coach, and I've been coaching full time for 4 years. I run travel programs. I do clinics for youth athletes. I do online trainings. I do Instagram videos, and I'm currently working on building out an app for parents that are looking for resources for kids that are looking for travel ball and that are looking for more than what their Little League offers. So a lot of different things that we've done. And I'm also a lefty, which is something that I think nowadays is pretty rare. And also it's something that people like really specialize in. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Dr. Kevin Hagelin, physical therapist, sports orthopedic, the man with the magic hands, as some people will say, but also a lefty. So why we're here, why I'm here. But was a collegiate athlete in sprinting and triple jumping specifically, and I've worked with athletes from a very young age at the youth levels to the professional level in the majors, NHL, European soccer leagues. So I've worked with a lot of different athletes over the years. So
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So today, what I really wanted us to focus on talking about is we have two really unique perspectives as lefties. And you didn't even mention this, but you also have a lefty son.
yes, yep.
Yeah,
So
he's got a 10-year old, an 11-year-old son. And just for our viewers to know, Kevin and I met because I started working with his 10-year-old son on first base drills and basically being like his online coach. And we just talked a lot about different ideas. And I think what we've been knowing each other now for at least 6 months now, pretty close to it.
I think we're almost 9, 10 months now
Yeah,
because I think
okay,
it
yeah,
was
almost a
February
year.
last year.
Let's
Yeah.
go, man.
So
Time flies when you're just
right.
doing work and getting better.
So yeah.
But what I want to talk about today, what we're going to touch on for this podcast is the challenges of being a lefty from the perspective for me of really playing and being in it. And I want to hear your perspective as also you playing through it, but also seeing your son play through it. And then what benefits you've seen just because he's a lefty that he's had that you think that righties don't get to get. And then also I want to talk a little bit about what positions is he better at because he's a lefty and why.
Hmm.
Um, so I think the first thing I want to touch on is catching as a lefty, being an actual catcher, because I know you talked about this in our last podcast. You caught as a lefty,
Hmm.
I caught as a lefty, and your son Hunter also catches as a lefty.
Yep.
So I think for me, what I wanted to talk about first was the stigma around coaches telling you can't play, right? Would you would
Hate
you
that.
would you agree that that's happened for you and for your son?
Uh, yes. Not so much when I was little, but like I said, I don't think there's really a lot of my teammates who wanted to catch. Um, you just can kind of get beat up with different stuff in there and all that. But and back in my day, you could truck the catcher coming into home.
But
So,
even when you were like 12?
oh yeah, yeah. There's a couple of them where
No
kids
way.
tried coming right in, and like I knew it was coming. I just like boom, like held like just brace for it. So like started to kind of enjoy that, but yeah, not like today where you need to avoid the collision and stuff like that. So
Right.
which I think is a good move. Um, because too many guys just kind of get into that malicious intent with it. And I wouldn't say when I was younger, kids were like malicious about when they come into you, but they're just like, hey, you're in my way, and I'm trying to get to the base.
Yeah, there was a level of toughness that everybody had kind of back then that you kind of respected in everybody.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to touch on you. You said something that maybe like I was it's really interesting. You're saying that when you were younger, it actually your coaches weren't being like, no, you can't catch because you're lefty. They
Hmm.
didn't really care. And I'm curious, is that because there weren't a lot of people that wanted to catch, or is it because you were just the better person for the job at the time?
Um, I couldn't tell you for sure. Like, I wasn't really aware of any of those nuances back then. That said, if my memory serves me correctly, and I should have looked this up before we hopped on this, but I think the last catcher to be left-handed in the majors was in around 1986. So, like, I might not look that old, but when I was younger, that was a little bit more recent. So I, um, it might not have really become a thing at that point of like, oh yeah, like, no, we're not having left-handed catchers.
Right.
So, but I do know I've seen a couple articles on it. He is working with a few catchers, or was at least working with one catcher who's I think high school age and looking to go to college as a catcher and be left-handed. So they're out there trying to break that current stigma of being a left-handed catcher. So,
Yeah. And that kind of leads me to the next part of this is where does the stigma come from? Right? So there's a couple of things that I thought about that I wrote down. The first one that I can kind of understand that I've heard is righties are more common in baseball. So that means that when they're hitting in the batter's box, they're on the right side of the box, which when a lefty catcher's behind him, that's the same arm that he throws on. So theoretically speaking, if a person is stealing second, there's a higher chance that there's going to be a righty in the box, so it's a harder throw to throw somebody out, right? Have you
mhm.
heard that one before?
Yep.
Yeah, that's like the first one I hear. The second one I hear is throwing out guys at third, right? And being able to throw somebody out third because again, the same thing, righty in the batter's box, you have to get behind the guy to throw it. And that's another reason. Now, besides those two, I honestly don't know what other reason there really is. Do you know?
No, I think eh, what we talked about a little bit in the first podcast was it's hard for people to think about the footwork in the opposite direction. Even like what I do, working with people all the time on different movements and through injuries and stuff like that. Um, I have to take a minute sometimes and think in reverse. One minute I might be looking at a patient from the front. I might be looking at them from the back. They might be laying on the table, and I'm at one end or the other, or they'll flip over on their stomach, and sometimes like, oh shoot, I gotta go to the other side, or like, okay, they flipped, and that kind of thing. When it's not obvious, like they had a surgery or something like that. So um, there isn't like a external cue of like, oh, this is the side that has the issue. So I can just imagine for somebody who doesn't deal with that all the time,
Mhm.
it is a lot more of a challenge to think of that footwork in reverse or mirror of what they're doing. So,
Right. So
um,
mainly you think like if a lefty catcher is playing, he's learning from other righty catchers.
right, yeah. And so, they have to now think about that in like, okay, instead of this leg up, I need this leg up or the other leg up
Right.
and,
Yeah,
working
so I mean
through.
that's actually sorry to interrupt you, but that's a good point because if you think about it, when you have a especially at a higher level, right? Higher level meaning probably like varsity high school, maybe junior college or college level, there's like a catching coach specific, right? Or at least a coach that'll work with the catchers. And if majority of the catchers are righty and he's teaching them the footwork, of how to go right, left, pull to the ear, and he's teaching them how to do it, he can't go, okay, now for you one lefty, this is how you do it, because it would take up more of his time and throw off the group lesson. So that would mean the lefty would have to take it upon himself to do that on his own.
Sometimes, I mean, like
Yeah.
it's just like a quick second of like, hey, you're gonna do it this way,
Right.
switch the feet, that kind of
That's
thing.
as
But
it should be, but I think sometimes coaches can get overwhelmed. I've seen that happen before where they're like, you're lefty, just do it backwards. And
yeah,
some lefties are
yeah.
like, what does that even mean?
Oh, I did pull it up here. The last left-handed catcher to play in the majors was Benny DiStefano in 1989. So,
1989.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yes.
We
Yep.
gotta pull up some video of him and show it later. But I'm curious because your Hunter's been catching now for what, 3 months? Longer?
Uh, well, so a little backstory on it. The first club we were with, they were really known and are really known for their catchers because one of the coaches was a former MLB co or catcher. So they spent a lot of time working with their catchers, and um, they were willing to work with Hunter of having him come in and do catching practices just to have more looks at the ball. If you think about who your better hitters are in the youth levels, it's usually your catchers. They see the ball all the time. And so now when they're in the box, they're familiar with what that strike zone is going to be for the day. They're seeing the different pitches, and there's not a lot of variability at 9, 10, even 11. 11, 12, you're going to start seeing some more variability in pitches from kids, but they're going to pick up that ball a lot easier because they see it all the time. And
Right.
so they let him go to catching practice for 2 years. Last year, at one point, they were considering having him play in a game as a catcher, and kind of like one of those special circumstances of, hey, we're up by a lot or we're down by a lot and we want to save our guys. Just because his receiving was getting to be pretty good, where he's timing that catch, ripping up through the ball on like those low pitches to try to get that low strike call. So when we switched to the new club, they had one other kid that was a catcher and was younger, and you just can't go an entire weekend of the same kid catching. And
Yeah,
so,
that does not work at 10, 11
no,
years old.
no. So first tournament, um, they asked if I could help out kind of in the dugout and keep scoring stuff. And the coach goes, "Hey, Hunter catches, right?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, he's been going to catching practice for like 2 years, but he's never caught in a game." And coach just turns and goes, "Hey, Hunter, you're catching." And uh, Hunter is like, "Wait, what?" Just like deer in the headlights, and it's just like, "Hey, just go back there. We need to give, the other kid a break and rest his legs a little bit. So, just get your gear on, do the best you can, have fun with it." And I mean, just a couple pitches in, the coach leans over. He's like, "He actually looks like he's having some fun back there. Look at this. Like, got signs, he's making all the motions, like setting up really well. Looks good." So,
Yeah.
yeah, and so then he just started catching, and we've gotten comments. I don't even know how many times now from different coaches of like, "Man, that left-handed catcher is looking pretty good back there." So I'm
That's
like,
great, man.
he was taught well. I definitely will say he was taught very well. So
Yeah. I think it helps too that he learned how to play first base well too. Those two
yeah,
things do work well together.
yeah.
I'm curious, watching him catch now more, have you seen any incidences where with a righty batter and somebody stealing, have you seen it where like his throws have issues?
No, so when you talk about like the footwork and where you're throwing to, just from a analytical standpoint, in my mind, I don't think it's really any different than a right-handed catcher having to throw a second with a left-handed batter, or trying to backpick at first. I like more often than not, you're probably going to try to backpick at first on something, or you have somebody going to third, and as a righty, yeah, you're kind of turned that way, but if you're a good catcher, like you're seeing that happen, and so as that pitch is coming, like they're taught to kind of turn a little bit and have the glove, and so they're already setting up to face that direction anyways. So I think just going and thinking about it in reverse situation again, of if you have a left-handed batter with a right-handed catcher, you're going to be doing the same thing, just the other direction on the field. So,
Right. Yeah. That's a very good point. You know?
and actually, Hunter just got his first guy trying to take third this weekend, and I think it was a right-handed batter, if I remember right. So he just set up, turned behind, and threw behind the guy and got it there. So,
Yeah. Do you think that because you have a lefty catcher that you might get the catcher's interference call more?
um, I don't think so. We've gotten that call a few times, and it was because of how close he was setting up, and the batter just had a real long swing,
Right.
or he was trying to come up too early. So, because by the time that glove comes up there, whether you're a left or right-handed catcher,
Right.
it's
Oh,
behind the plate.
you know what I meant to say? I realized 'cause I said catcher's interference, didn't I?
Yeah,
I meant batter's interference.
batter
Where like
interference.
yeah, like the guy stealing third and the righty in the box steps out of the box and gets in the way of the throw.
So we haven't seen that, and at our age level, it's really hard to get that call.
Dude,
There's definitely been a
I just
few
had to bring it
times.
up because that call has been so like hit or miss in my tournament experience at the 10 to 12 year level. Like I
Yeah,
had one umpire tell me one time if the batter moves at all, right? If he makes any sort of movement where he's or like if he's moves from where he's standing when a catcher's throwing, he's gonna call catcher's interference. I've
yep,
had that one umpire. I've had another umpire that says if he doesn't get out of the box, right, he's fine. So he can move as long as he stays in the box. And then
hmm
I had another umpire that said the batter needs to get out of his way.
yeah,
So it's up to the umpire discretion. So my advice to anybody listening to this who has been burned by that call, which I have, is before every game, and I do this now, I ask the umpire, I go, what is your how do I phrase this? What's your understanding of the rule, or what's your interpretation? That's the word. What's your interpretation of the catchers in or the runner? God dang it, I can't speak. What is your interpretation of the batter's interference rule when a runner
hmm
is stealing third, right? Then you can get the clarification, then you know now. Because it's a silly rule, but like it matters at the young level because
right,
they have to know how to play the game.
right.
Um,
And I like, yeah, there's just been so many times where it's like, come on, like batter was right there in the way,
yeah,
and and so I'd always try to tell him like, if you're gonna try to make that throw and the batter's in the way, like make the throw, like
right.
make
Yeah,
the
because
attempt.
I've seen it happen where the catcher goes, "Well, I can't throw it. He's in the way. He's in
Yeah,
the way." And I go, "Well, that's not interference because you didn't throw it."
right.
Yeah, you got to
So
try to throw it.
yeah, if you see that batter move and it's in your way, like I'm not saying try to hit the batter
Right.
or anything like that, which I've seen video clips of that, where the catcher will just intentionally throw it right at the batter's ear hole. But like if the batter moves and he's like getting in your way, like finish your throw. Don't
Yeah.
hold it up because you're more likely to get the call then than if you don't throw it.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. Cool, dude. Well, okay. I want to talk about one more thing before we sign off. This is something that we've touched on before in just conversations we've had in the past. But I'm curious to hear. I want to ask you first before I share my opinion on this. But is there a position on the field that you think actually is played better because of their lefty?
oh, first base, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
I
Just want to make sure
mean,
we agree on that.
it kills me when we have all these right-handers playing first base and they're trying to hold a guy on and they're kind of like turned a little bit, because they have to get that glove there. They have to backhand that catch to try to tag him. It's just if you got a lefty, like put them over there. And I'm not saying don't put right-handers there either, but
Right.
um like coach them up. But I think again, like playing first base and understanding the footwork and stuff involved with that, a lot of coaches don't really go over or know. I mean,
Mhm.
I know I've spent more time working with Hunter on that than any other coaches, and that's where it was like, hey, I've found this coach that's a lefty, and kind of specializes in that in first base. Like, let's get some tips from him, and so that's how we ended up connecting with you. So
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that if you can control your feet, you can control your glove.
yeah.
That's how I think. And I remember that moment for me when I was playing. I think I think I was past high school, to be honest, man. I think that I was in college. I remember really struggling with ground balls for my entire career as a first baseman. I really had a hard time fielding ground balls. I didn't know how to like properly set up and like create a wall with my glove and be strong and use my feet the right way. And then I got to college and my coach literally just goes, "Yeah, you just want to take 2 steps before you field it. You know, you just want to go left, right and field it." Or for me as a lefty, it's right, left. You just want to go
Mhm.
right foot, left foot. No, it is left, right because I put my right foot down first. I go left foot, right foot, and I field it. And all of a sudden, we did this drill where we used these cones, and I was at shortstop practicing as a shortstop because my coach in college believed if you want to have a good first baseman, he should train like a shortstop, which that's the best advice ever.
Oh, I
I,
100% agree.
yeah,
Awesome, coach.
I
I
start
love
to
it.
move my feet, and all of a sudden, I made this play where I like pushed through the ball, pulled to my ear, shuffled through to first, all in one motion, and I felt the momentum, and I felt the strength and the speed, and I went, "That's what it feels like." I was like, the more confident I am, and the more quickly I move, the easier it is to field a hard ground ball. Wow, who would have thought? It's
It's the little
crazy,
things and it's the details, but like you said, is that footwork, and then you got to think about like, oh, wait a minute, I got to get this foot down first.
right?
Like I got to do it the opposite.
Yeah.
And I
No one
like
tells you when you're a lefty, man. And especially when you're a
no,
first baseman, what do they tell you as a first baseman? To get a ground ball.
I'm trying to
Block,
think
just
like,
block it. Keep it in front of you.
yeah,
Because they go, you're so close to the base, it's okay if you don't really feel it clean because you have time. And I'm
right.
like, okay, good. So I'm just like kind of good at fielding ground balls.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean
So,
it's just it's that little detail, and thinking back now that you mention it, like I don't think anybody's really said to Hunter like, "Hey, yeah, for you when you ground a field or when you feel the ground ball, like you got to go this foot then that foot."
yeah.
You know.
When you get your right foot down, your glove's on your right side, so then the glove goes down at the same time.
Yeah.
And it moves. So
But
I think that for me, I 100% agree. First base is by far, I think, the most important position to if you have a lefty and he's athletic and he's good, he should be playing first base. If you have a really good righty, like I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is I think he's the best defensive first baseman. And he's a righty and he's so quick and he's good. He's got great footwork. He's flexible, all that stuff. The other position that I think is played better when you have a good lefty is left field. And I think this because for really one specific play. And I think the same thing for having a righty in right field.
okay.
And it's whenever you get the bloop hit, like with the 2 outs, the 2 strikes, bases loaded, it's like the game's always on the line when these hits happen, at least when I've seen it. It's like there's nobody on and this happens, or the game's on the line and it's freaking close and nobody can get an out. Where there's 2 strikes, you have a lefty up, the pitcher throws this nasty changeup or a curveball, and the batter takes this butt out swing and pokes the ball, and it drops over the third baseman's head, over the shortstop's head in that little gap. If you have a lefty there, it's easier for them to break forward to the right and make a play on their glove hand side than it is for a righty to go and make a play on his backhand side and make that one move.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that play, if you make it, you save more games.
Right. No,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, because you gotta get across, and it's more like a basket kind of catch or something like that if you
right.
need to, and sliding for it. Which now I'm kind of like thinking about all the different MLB teams and who's left-handed that they have in left field
Yeah.
versus right. So,
I did personally though, in my playing career, I really enjoyed actually playing right field more than left field. Um, I love, I mean, center field. I think center field is my favorite outfield position, but right field is always my second because I love that blue ball. It was like my favorite ball to get because I knew that I could make the play because I was quick enough and athletic enough. And what I would always do, more advice for people out there, if you're an outfielder or a parent of an outfielder, is whenever there's 2 strikes and there's a righty up and you're playing right field, shift over 2 to 3 steps closer to the line and come in 2 or 3 steps, just a little bit. And that's the difference maker, right? Because when you see players miss plays, is it by a lot or by a little,
Usually by
right?
a little.
It's always by a little. So I'm like, if I take that little step before the play happens, I'm gonna make that play most of the time.
Right? I mean, and that just comes back and speaks to how much strategy is involved with baseball.
Yeah.
And should throw out there, like, parents, if your kid is an outfielder, that position is so important and should not be looked down upon, especially as the kids get older, because that's going to be more and more action, and those plays are what keep the game in check. Like, if your outfield falls apart, you're not going to have a great game because that's what stops runs, or you might end up gunning guys down trying to get an extra base because at that age level or those younger age levels, the outfield just isn't looked at as being real strong.
Hmm.
So, like, that's not a bad thing. Like,
Right.
embrace it, learn how to
I
play it.
I think also too, when you have a smart outfield, not necessarily really good, but just smart, like where they know to position themselves, it will m make your young team so much better because when they back up the bases they're supposed to, and they know. I mean,
Yeah,
think about how many errors are made at the 10, 11, 12U level. There's so many, which is to be expected, to be honest, right? I'm not
yeah,
saying
yeah,
that, yeah, you want them to make mistakes, but if the outfield's playing their spots and backing it up, how many more errors are saved, right?
yeah. It shouldn't be a boring position. Like, when I was younger, it was a boring position, but nobody ever taught me how to back up bases
Right.
and stuff like that. Like, hey, there's a runner on first, you're right field. You got to be ready to drop over there for a pickoff, in case that ball gets missed, or you're going to back up on the other side or at second and different plays like that. Like, they should always be moving during the game on pretty much every play. And I would say most coaches don't really emphasize that
Hmm.
other than when they're actually specifically working with outfield like drills and stuff like that. And then like it might come up in a game or something like that, but that's going to be after an error is already committed or something like that instead of like in practice like, hey, you need to be dropping over to back that up and be doing this.
Yeah.
It gets overlooked so often now that I think about it, that it's just like, shoot, even I'd say our teams have to probably do better at it in practice of like, all right, outfielders, like, make sure you're moving like you're supposed to and backing
Yep.
up.
Every play. And it's funny enough, dude, I just bought this. It's a defensive situations thing
Oh,
that
there we go.
has like fly ball to left field, right? Move the pitcher moves back up home. The catcher protects home. First base watches the runner hit first and then covers first for a back pick, if you have drops. Second base covers second. Shortstop cuts off. All the things, and then it tells it where all the outfielders go. I'm gonna make photocopies of this and give it out to my players that I coach and have them study it. I did that when I was 10. I realized that I did this when I was 10, dude. And I was like, man, no one
Wow.
does that anymore. That's what you need to do to understand the game at a young
I
age.
definitely wasn't taught that.
I had a really good Little League coach, right? I will say I was really fortunate with the coaches I had growing up that taught me the things that I know. Um, but there were just bits of it, right? There were good parts and there were a lot of other negative things that I took from it that I learned as well.
Hmm.
So I want to wrap this up. And one thing that I want to talk about as I'm wrapping it up is I just want to say that I think it's really important for lefties to play as many positions as they can at a young age. It is critical because it's so important as part of their development. Like you said,
Hmm.
Hunter catching as much as he did exposed him to so many more reps and seeing the ball hit his glove and learning how to catch and learning how to read the movement and catch off-speed pitches and see curveballs and changeups and all these different things. And then to be able to play like shortstop or third and other spots at a young age or second base, it just shows you a different side of the game and a different perspective so that when you do play more first base or outfield, like most lefties do end up doing, you have a better understanding of what other positions do. So I think that is just so important when you're learning and when you're growing. And when you're thinking about what positions you want to play when you get older, it's important to draw from all your experiences.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, I want you to leave these guys with a little bit of advice for left-handers and how they can go about their development and through sports in general, not just baseball.
I mean, work at whatever skill the opposite way as much as you can. Um, be able to use your right hand really well. And if you can think about that as you practice, that's going to help you not only one, just play the game better, but even in life, because you're going to be able to start looking at problems from a lot of different angles and problem solve a lot better because of that, because you've been trained to look at things from different angles or think about it in the opposite than what everybody else does. So, yeah, you're going to have struggles as a lefty sometimes, but if you can always just kind of keep in mind, like, hey, this is going to make me better eventually down the road, you're going to be so much further ahead of the game. And I think that's why we see a lot of left-handed people in leadership positions. Though we're only like 10% or so of the world population, there is a disproportionate number of left-handed people that are leaders of countries or companies and stuff like that. And I think it comes back to just us having to figure out the opposite and figure it out for ourselves versus being taught like everybody else.
You hear that,
So
lefties? It's a superpower, baby.
it is. It is.
That's
So,
awesome. It's also, I'm also dyslexic. That to me, as I gotten older, has been a superpower because it's the same way for me as kind of being a lefty. Is you have such a different perspective on things. You have to look at problems a different way. And dude, I think you're totally right. I've never even thought about it like that, honestly. As a lefty, I've had to adjust to a righty world, which opens you up to more experiences and perspectives.
hmm
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, that's great advice. I just learned something there to end it off. I love that. Well,
Hey,
sweet.
trying to provide a little bit of value to the content. So,
Hell yeah, man. That's what we need. All right,
so
man. Well, hey, that was a great second episode. Thanks for taking the time, Mr. Dr.
love
Kevin.
it. You as well. I appreciate being here. And yeah, we have a lot more to cover, and I just looking forward to it and excited because I think a lot of people just aren't aware of some of these things, and just hearing about it is going to make a huge difference in somebody's life in really big ways that the impact we won't ever know.
That's
So,
true, man. That's true. Sometimes you get caught up in like trying to help so many. If you just help one, that's really what matters, especially with stuff like this. Because
mhm.
if I had one person that helped me with this when I was younger, I think I would be in the MLB right now. Being honest,
Yeah, yeah,
one step
just
away.
always trying to pay it forward and help the next people coming up. So,
Yeah. All right, man. Well, dude, enjoy the rest of your day. Great
you
talking to
too.
you. Awesome second episode of the podcast.
Let's go.
All right, take it easy.